Everyone, Andrew Rains from Apex Pro here. Today we're going to be looking at 3 things to look at in my data from Barber Motorsports Park. We're going to start with turn 1, right? Predictable. All right, so we're going to go to turn 1 here at Barber Motorsports Park. I've got 2 data sessions selected. This one from me and an E36 M3 BMW, and this example lap from an unidentified driver. I believe it's a Lotus of some sort, an Exige or an Elise. All right, so we're going to jump right into it. I'm going to look at the speed trace to analyze turn 1. What I want to know is, can I carry more speed? Is the shape of my speed trace the right shape? I want to avoid a V-shaped speed trace in turn 1 because it's a high-speed corner. So I can toggle to speed here, and I can see what kind of speed I'm seeing at the apex. About 75 miles an hour. Now I know I'm going to treat it like a high-speed corner, meaning I don't want to drag too much brake pedal into it, keep too much weight on the nose. So I'm going to go to the speed trace. I'm going to overlay a second lap here, so I'm going to pick this 146.6 lap that I have. I'm going to overlay this lap, this first lap from this driver here, and we're going to immediately see a big gap in the speed trace right here in turn 1. So 2 things we're looking at here. One is the gap. So if we're analyzing this with our own speed trace, that gap is even more telling because that means on one lap you were faster. So pull up your fast lap, overlay it with your slower laps, and see if there's a gap in the speed trace. Really simple. Also, we're looking for the shape. See how the blue lap, we see this nice kind of rounded out U shape. Any lap over or corner over about 60 miles per hour at the apex, we want to see more of a U shape, which means we slowed slower into the corner, and that allowed the chassis to be more balanced. That means all 4 tires were really gripping and hugging the surface, and we carried more speed through the entire corner instead of parking the car on its nose, getting it turned and accelerating. Typically, this shape is something we want to see from slower speed corners. So this driver on the red lap here should try to emulate the shape of this curve, probably by releasing the brake pedal sooner or not quite braking as deep into the corner. Those essentially mean the same thing, right? But that could improve the behavior of the car through there, make it feel more stable and carry more speed. Next, we're going to look at turn 5. I'm going to go back to the GPS satellite image, and I'm going to just look at the long G channel. So I'm going to scroll down to long G right here. This is one of my laps. This is probably not my best. I know I probably could have braked a little bit deeper, but what I really want to look at in turn 5 is that I coast before I went to the brake pedal. That's the first thing to look at. And we see that by yellow coloring is going to be coasting. So red coloring is hard deceleration with long G, hard negative deceleration, negative G. Green is accelerating. So the yellow coloring is only produced by coasting, maybe a really low horsepower car accelerating up a hill, something like that, where the acceleration is basically 0 or close to it. In this lap, we have a small amount of yellow before it goes straight into this deep red color. And we could see, especially if we went to the long G trace, that I'm coming off the gas on the brake pretty quickly. And I can tell you that from my experience here, that's something I've worked on a lot. It's taken a lot of time to be able to do that. Let's look at another driver and see what the difference is. So that was my lap. Let's look at any one of these laps. We can go through almost any one of this driver's laps, and we're going to see this yellow area 2 to 3 times as long as on one of my laps. What that's telling us is that they're releasing the gas pedal slowly before going to the brake. That's the first thing you could fix. That'll pick up time almost immediately. It also means that they're probably braking too hard into the corner. They're probably not trailing out of the brake, but they might even be adding brake into the corner. That might mean that they could brake a lot later, and in a corner where we're entering at a high speed and slowing down, have a high-speed delta, right, where we want to slow down to a slow speed for the corner or have to, that's going to net a lot of lap time. So we want to make sure that we're not having that yellow coloring between the green and the red in the long G trace on the GPS overlay. This is also showing us that this driver definitely overslowed because now they're basically coasting from this point all the way to here, whereas this should be a nice orange color, which would evidence that we're actually still on the brake pedal a little bit, helping the car turn. We're releasing that brake pedal as we get to the apex of the corner. So 2 things to avoid here: yellow coloring right here, or too much of it. You're always going to have a tiny bit, but too much of it. Also, we want to see a nice orange color on the speed trace down to about this midpoint in the curve before it turns green again here. All right, lastly, so that was turn 5, threshold braking. That's making sure that we're going straight to that brake pedal, almost putting it to the floor as hard as our tires and the braking system on the vehicle will allow us to slow, and then we're slowly releasing the pedal to help the car rotate in turn 5 so we can get a nice exit and accelerate hard. Now as we exit turn 5, we head towards turn 7, which is the museum corner. So turn 7 is a pretty high speed corner. At the apex, we're looking most cars north of 70 miles per hour just in a street car. Some race cars are going to be well faster than that, 90 miles an hour almost with downforce and big tires. So we're going to look at 2 different laps again here, and we're going to use the apex lights here. What I like about the apex light review is that all you have to really know is where in the progression of the corner did you see red lights, and we can do that with the lap replay here, and that'll tell you a lot. All right, so we're going to watch this driver, this 1:48.92 lap. I'm going to press the play button. The play button is right here, and I'm going to watch the progression of lights. So notice how we had all green lights right here. Now, as they're turning the wheel and loading the car up, we see red lights starting to appear. What this is showing us is this driver is actually over slowing this corner because we saw red lights after we initially saw green lights. If we see maximum green immediately, that means poof, hard brake pedal. Then they're releasing the brake pedal, and oh man, there's all this grip left. Right? The progression that we should see probably is going to be followed a little bit better on one of these laps. Let's watch the same thing again. We're watching the light bar. This is going to be a softer brake input. We're only going from 100 miles an hour down to about 75 miles per hour. And now we're releasing the brake pedal. So notice how I actually saw a couple of red lights while the car was going straight. Now, as the car gets loaded up into the corner, we're about 3, 4, 5 miles per hour faster than the other lap was right here. We're seeing all green lights on the LEDs, meaning there's not a whole lot of grip left in the tire. And we're going to see that nice green progression all the way through the corner. So how would we fix that if we're that other driver? Just soften up your brake pressure. Right? Brake in the same place, just brake a little bit lighter. Let the car roll a little more speed. Get comfortable with making the chassis as settled as possible here so you can roll in big entry speed, because you've got to get on the brake pedal again right here. If your goal is to get a good exit here, you can still carry a really quick entry, and that's going to really improve your lap time. So those are 3 things to look at Barber Motorsports Park in your apex data: the speed trace in turn 1, the longitudinal G overlay on the satellite image in turn 2, and your Apex Pro LEDs in turn 5, and then turn 7 with your Apex Pro LEDs. Let us know if you got anything out of this. Please share what you've learned with your Apex Pro and other tracks, and we'll try to feature them in a video so that we can show others what you've learned and how Apex Pro has helped your driving. Thanks for watching.